Plan on flying? In order to board domestic flights, your driver's license or state-issued ID must be a real ID. Learn how to get your real ID today at tsa.gov/realid or visit your local DMV.
We're here in the matter of the United States of America versus...
Calling is a collect call from a person presumed nice until proven naughty.
Y'all, Santa Claus is locked up, and I'm gonna get him out. My name's Richie Buck. I'm an amateur podcaster and investigator. I'm an investapodster. I came up with that. If you like true crime, feelings of the holidays, and I ain't just talking about Christmas, and satire, well, Santa May Be a Criminal just might be for you. Some of your favorite true crime podcasters have joined in to spin this yarn.
I'm Chet.
If the mitten ain't a fitting.
Can you tell who's who?
Stop acting like
And is Santa a criminal? Let's find out together.
I've been waiting for you.
Santa May Be a Criminal. Listen and subscribe now, wherever you get your podcasts.
Hunt down Santa.
Ho, ho, ho.
Hello and welcome to Reverie True Crime. I'm your host, Paige. Incels, or involuntary celibates, are heterosexual men, often young men, who put the blame on all women and society for not being able to form relationships with women and or being virgins. We have seen a rise of incels who pride themselves on attempting to strike fear into women if they don't get what they think they deserve from them. Incels are a part of what is called the manosphere. The manosphere is a group of online incels, PUAs, which stands for pickup artists, MGTOWs, men going their own way, and MRAs, men's rights activists. Incels are not only hateful and full of rage towards women, but they also hate other men who are in relationships and are sexually active. There are incels who are not violent at all, but there is a group who are overtaken by suicidal and or homicidal fury. I spent some time diving into incel forums, and those are eye-opening places. The views, thoughts, and opinions these young men have about women and little girls, their own mothers, and women in their families, and most men, are twisted. They blame everyone else but themselves for their shortcomings or their inability to form relationships with women. Most incels believe 80% of women only date the top 20% of single men. They say women don't actually care about personality at all. Incels claim that women only want to be with men who have more money than they do, tall men, and the best looking, only to leave the other 80% of men, which includes involuntary celibate young men, single and alone. There will be a follow-up episode which I have a guest coming on for, where we will discuss the manosphere. I have compiled a ton of incel posts and comments from all corners of the internet to give an insight on what is going on in the minds of thousands of young men all over the world. You might be shocked by the things you hear. It's an unfortunate fact that Elliot Rodger has become one of the biggest so-called heroes to incels that I've come across online. They often talk about going ER, meaning committing a mass murder, like Elliot Rodger. We'll discuss a lot more in the next episode because there is a lot more to cover. This horrible incident sparked an uprising in the incel world, especially online, that we really need to bring to the forefront and bring awareness to what is going on. I went down a deep rabbit hole that men who care about little girls and women need to hear, and all females need to be aware of, because it's more of a threat than we may think. Elliot's manifesto and journals are things that I did not want to push on anyone who may just want to hear the facts of this story. I am in the process of recording his writings and posting them publicly on patreon.com/ReverieTrueCrime for anyone who is curious and wants to hear it instead of reading all of it. Of course, you have to take his writings with a grain of salt, because we don't know how much of it is true and what might be distorted reality, or maybe not how certain things truly happened because he was struggling with mental health issues. It's all going to be posted in parts because there's a lot. However, that gives us more insight into the minds of these types of men. Incels don't get talked about enough, and how dangerous a lot of them can potentially be. It's time to pull back the curtain on the subject. His writings are what you can normally find on incel forums across the internet. So if you are also curious as to what guys are saying on those forums but don't want to go seek it out, everything Elliot writes is basically what these males are saying every single day online. It's terrifying to think about, and I've only been diving into this for a little over a week. Looking through all of these forums and this research has made me very sick, to be quite honest, because I didn't know how bad it was before I started looking into it, and I personally want awareness brought to this major issue. For now, let's go through the story about Elliot Rodger and the tragedy that occurred in Isla Vista, taking 7 lives and injuring 13.
Hey, Elliot Rodger here. I'm just sitting in my car right now after watching that beautiful sunset descend beyond that hill up there. Enjoying a nice vanilla latte. Oh yeah, that's nice. Makes me feel all pumped up. I've been doing a lot of thinking about how sad and unfair my life has been, all because girls haven't been attracted to me. I've been going through college for 2.5 years now, and in those 2.5 years, I've had to rot in bleak and sad loneliness, while other guys get to enjoy all the pleasures of, sex and socializing and partying. I've never had a taste of that, because no girls give me a chance. No girl at my college has ever expressed any interest in me. I mean, you give a chance to all these stupid, obnoxious guys that I see you walking with, but you don't give a chance to me. Why not? I'm such a magnificent guy. I'm beautiful. You can't deny that. I've traveled all over the world. I have so much to talk about. I'm civilized, intelligent, sophisticated. I have a sense of style, and yet you girls don't see it. And every single day, I have to be insulted by the sight of all these lesser men walking around with beautiful girls. I see so many couples where the guy is just so unworthy of having a beautiful girlfriend like that. And yet, they're together. He has her love. And I've never had any of that love and affection from girls. Why do you girls give those guys a chance, but not me? I deserve it more. It's not fair. Every single day I have to be insulted by the sight of guys enjoying girls while I'm all alone. Even watching that sunset up there is a bittersweet experience, because while I love the peaceful beauty of it, I can't help but think of all the other guys who get to enjoy that same sunset with a beautiful girlfriend at their side, while I'm sitting here all alone in my car. There's no beautiful girl in that passenger seat to enjoy it with me. Because you girls have something against me. I don't know what it is. Whenever I drive through this college town called Isla Vista, which is just right next to UCSB, I see so many hot, beautiful blonde girls walking with absolute stupid, obnoxious-looking douchebags. And I just can't help but think how wrong that is. Those beautiful blonde girls should be walking with me, not those brutes. I deserve them more. Why do those horrible men get to experience the love and affection of such beautiful, heavenly girls, while I've had to rot in loneliness all my life? It's not fair. It's such an injustice. I don't understand you girls. It's like your sexual attraction is flawed. It's perverted. You're attracted to the wrong kind of guy. You should be attracted to guys like me. Beautiful, magnificent guys. This world, it's so twisted. It's so cruel. And you girls make it cruel. You girls have starved me of sex and enjoyment and pleasure for my entire youth. You've taken 8 years away from my life. 8 years I'll never get back. Do you know how much misery you've caused me? I'm such a nice guy. Why won't you give me a chance?
On July 24th, 1991, in London, England, Elliot Oliver Rodger was born to Lee Chin Rodger and Peter Rodger. Their family picked up and moved to LA, California around 1996, when Elliot was 5 years old. His mother, Chin, was a Malaysian research assistant for a film company, and Peter was a British filmmaker whose resume includes working on TV commercials and spending a few days being a second unit assistant director for the Hunger Games. In the 1989 movie Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Lee Chin was a unit nurse. Starting at the age of 8, while attending Topanga Elementary Charter School, Elliot began seeing a therapist. Around this time, his parents were struggling to understand his mental issues while going through a divorce. A friend of their family, screenwriter Dale Launer, met Elliot, and he could tell there was something wrong with him. Quote, "I'm not a psychologist, but looking back now, he strikes me as someone who was broken from the moment of conception." Elliot saw many therapists throughout his childhood and teenage years. Although it's reported he was getting psychiatric treatment, he was never diagnosed with any mental illness. As a kid, Elliot horribly struggled with interacting socially, and being ridden with anxiety. He would rarely talk to his schoolmates, which started in elementary school. If he ever did say anything, he would whisper it. Elliot preferred to write down anything he had to say on paper. During recess, while all the other children played, he could be found hiding behind the school building instead of playing. When he attended birthday parties, he was very uneasy. Elliot was never aggressive as a child, just tremendously withdrawn. In the midst of the divorce and trying to figure out Elliot's mental health issues, Chen filled out an affidavit. In it, she said Elliot was a high-functioning autistic child, saying she needed more child support from Peter in order to take proper care of their son. Peter brought in Dr. Steven Scappa from Beverly Hills, who said the autistic diagnosis did not acknowledge that Elliot could have possibly been battling depression and/or anxiety. Dr. Steven thought Elliot should be seeing a child psychiatrist to be assessed further and receive treatment. Peter got remarried to Samaya Akaboun, a Moroccan actress who had a small role in an independent film called Lovelace at the time. Peter's dad, Elliot's grandfather, was George Rodger, who was a photojournalist. Elliot had 2 siblings, a younger sister, Georgia, and a younger brother. In 2001, when the horrific tragedy that was 9/11 happened, Peter was the director of commercials, but after the terrorist attacks, it depressed the industry. Peter was on a half-spiritual, half-unsuccessful business journey where he traveled to more than 23 countries over 2.5 years making a documentary. His documentary consisted of asking people and little children from all over the world, even Ringo Starr, one question: what is God? After it was finished, it was titled Oh My God, and released in November of 2009. He didn't sell very many tickets, and he was out $200,000, which he had drawn from equity on a home. Over the years, he had lost a lot of income. As a teenager, Elliot went to 3 high schools. One, an all-boys Catholic school, called Crespi Carmelite High School in Encino, Los Angeles. At this school, he says he was bullied, and the harassment would get increasingly worse. Once he fell asleep in class, and the ones who bullied him taped his head to the desk. Elliot said he would cry at school every day. The second school he went to was Taft High School in Woodland Hills, Los Angeles, and third, Independence Continuation High School in Lake Balboa, Los Angeles, where he graduated in 2010. While he was attending Independence, he became even more isolated and quiet. His fascination and obsession with the online game World of Warcraft was all he wanted to focus on. Possibly it was a method of escapism for Elliot. He was experiencing anxiety attacks at school because he claims he was always scared of what people would do to him. When school was over for the day, he always waited until everyone was gone before he would exit the school. The principal of Independence said when Elliot was a junior there, he displayed what she believed to be symptoms of Asperger's syndrome. She said, quote, "He was socially awkward, had trouble making eye contact, and he was very withdrawn, if very smart. Sometimes at lunch, kids would encourage him to come join them at their tables. Sometimes he would, but even when he did, he would just kind of be present. He had this push and pull between the desire to engage socially and his fear of rejection. Elliot got along swimmingly with a special education assistant who he enjoyed talking about World of Warcraft with. Around this time, he created his own YouTube channel and a blog that he called Elliot Rodger's Official Blog. On his YouTube and blog, he talked about how he felt extremely lonely and rejected. Elliot attended a few different colleges, starting with Pierce College, and a few others before attending Santa Barbara City College. By February 2012, he dropped out. After leaving college, he spent most of his time online. He always played World of Warcraft, but there were certain online forums that he posted to and visited all the time, where mostly men expressed their rage and hate against other men who made good connections with women and were successful at dating and having sex. One particular website called PUA Hate was removed, but while Elliot was on this forum, he talked about how women were disgusting and that he was so charming he had no idea how they could possibly resist him. He began to start this rallying of incels, involuntary celibates, to do something about these women, to fight back against all women who didn't pay them any mind. Quote, "One day incels will realize their true strength and numbers and will overthrow this oppressive feminist system. Start envisioning a world where women fear you." At first, all of the men on the forum were on his side, showed their camaraderie and support. That all changed. They began attacking Elliot, calling him desperate, insecure, pretentious, entitled, bitter, and whiny. The men began picking away at his appearance. Elliot was 5'9" and 135 pounds. They would make fun of him for his skinny physique, and someone called him a, quote, average-looking manlet. Elliot responded, quote, "I am a drop-dead gorgeous, fabulous, stylish, exotic gem among thousands of rocks." Elliot was prescribed risperidone, but after researching the medicine, he said it wasn't the right medication for him to be taking, and the same year, 2012, as his parents were providing him with mental health care, he wouldn't accept any more mental health help. Elliot began to sink into a dark place, gradually isolating himself away from the world. He said the one friend he did have, the one person he felt really understood him, expressed to him that he didn't want to be friends anymore, but the former friend supposedly never gave Elliot a reason why. As far back as family and friends can remember, Peter and Lee Chin were always worried about Elliot's mental stability since he was a very young child. There were attempts by his parents to arrange playdates with other children because he was so introverted, lonely, and shy. As we know, they tried to put him in different schools, hoping one would be better than the previous one for him, but that didn't happen. Chin even let Elliot have her black BMW car when he went off to college in hopes that it would help his reputation. He would hop in the BMW and take excursions by himself up and down the coast of California, which, in time, would be where he filmed his last video.
Elliot Rodger here. Right now I'm going on a little tour through Isla Vista on a Friday night. This is when all the college parties happen. Look in there. There's a party happening right now. I believe it's a fraternity, of some sort. Yeah. I'm gonna show you all a short little tour of this college town called Isla Vista, which is located right next to UCSB. Every time I drive through this place, I am overcome with rage, because I see so many guys walking around with beautiful blonde girls, enjoying their lives, while I've lived here for more than 2 years in loneliness. No one's ever invited me to parties, no girls have been attracted to me. I've never had the pleasure of walking through this town with a beautiful girl on my arm. I've had to watch other boys experience the life that I deserve. I'm gonna show you all right now exactly what I've been suffering through. This is the main center of the town where all the shops are. And I'm about to drive to the street that's adjacent to the ocean, and that's where all the house parties happen. See? Groups of young people everywhere. Here it is. I'm approaching a street called Del Playa. Yes, that's the main street. So many beautiful girls walking around here. But they would never give me a chance. See, look at that one. I just passed one. They would reject me at every turn. Young couples walking around. It makes me so envious. Here we are. It's still only 10 p.m., so it's not very active yet. It usually gets active at around 10:30. And look, that's the house I got beat up at when I walked in on the party. That was about almost a year ago now. Back in August of 2013. Here we go. Look at this. Groups of hot young sluts who would just reject me. And look at these douchebags right here. These assholes, these obnoxious little slobs. Those are the kind of guys that girls like, instead of magnificent gentlemen like myself. See, guys like this. Oh wait, no. Not guys like those. Those guys were ugly as fuck, but... See, look here. A house party. Beautiful girls talking with their frat boys. I hate them all. They think they're better than me. They'll never accept me as one of them. Those girls would never go for me. Police car. I'm so glad that police car didn't stop me for holding up my cell phone. I've already gotten a parking ticket this month. Looks like we're approaching the end of Del Playa here. Hold on, let me check if I'm getting some good footage. Well, that was my first tour of this horrible, wretched, depraved town. There will be many more to come. Here I am, Elliot Rodger. Beautiful, magnificent gentleman. Though the girls around this town don't see it. They hang around with those slobs, those obnoxious, horrible, disgusting men, but they never give me a chance. That's why my life is so unfair. Oh look, even more houses full of obnoxious college students right there. It's just ridiculous. Popular boys, outgoing boys, obnoxious, boisterous, extroverted boys. Those are the boys that girls like. I mean, yes, I'm a shy, quiet guy, but I have good qualities to myself. I'm a gentleman. You know, I'm sophisticated, I'm polite. I have good values. And I can be fun too, if they just give me a chance to open up. But girls never give me a chance because they're evil and cruel like that. Okay, we've reached a quiet spot. This would be a good place to end the video.
Over the next few years, there were a lot of emotional and mental issues that he outwardly expressed in aggressive ways. These things are never predictable. We never know if someone is going to violently snap when they've never been violent before. Most people struggling with mental health issues don't turn violent at all. Even if they do talk about morbid things, carrying out violent actions is not what most people dealing with mental health issues do. It's hard to pinpoint who really will go through with their threats, rants, and thoughts. Even though it's always highlighted on the news when we see bad things happen, that the person was struggling mentally, there are millions who suffer and never do anything remotely violent. In Elliot's case, he was one of those people who slowly got worse and started to show his violent side. On June 4th, 2011, Elliot moved out of his parents' apartment in Calabasas and started living in the Capri Apartments by the Santa Barbara Community College. He wrote, "I was desperate to have the life I know I deserve, a life of being wanted by attractive girls, a life of sex and love. Other men are able to have such a life, so why not me? I deserve it. I am magnificent, no matter how much the world treated me otherwise. I am designed for great things. I'll give the world one last chance. If I still have to suffer the same rejection and injustice even after I move to Santa Barbara, then that will be the last straw. I will have my vengeance." In July of 2011, Elliot was at Starbucks and followed a couple outside where he threw coffee on them. He viewed them as his enemies and wrote, "When they left the store, I followed them to their car and splashed my coffee all over them. The boy yelled at me, and I quickly ran away in fear. I had never struck back at my enemies before, and I felt a small sense of spiteful gratification for doing so. I realized I was capable of killing them. I wanted to kill them slowly, to strip the skins off their flesh. They deserve it. The males deserve it for taking the females away from me, and the females deserve it for choosing those males instead of me. Not long after that incident, before his 20th birthday, he saw a couple kissing at the food court and said it made him feel so inferior and worthless and small. So, Elliot drove in his car, following them until he could throw his iced tea at them. He wrote, "The hatred boiled inside of me with burning vitriol." Apparently, he got comfortable with throwing drinks on people that he envied and had this vile hatred for. In January of 2012, there was another coffee-throwing tantrum. He spotted two young women sitting on a bench waiting for a bus in Isla Vista while he drove by. Since they didn't pay him any attention when he smiled at them, he whipped back around and threw his coffee all over them, saying he felt a spiteful satisfaction as he saw it stain their jeans. He wrote, "How dare those girls snub me in such a fashion? How dare they insult me so? I raged to myself repeatedly. They deserved the punishment I gave them. It was such a pity that my latte was not hot enough to burn them. Those girls deserved to be dumped in boiling water for the crime of not giving me the attention and adoration I so rightfully deserve." In July of 2012, he watched on as a, quote, "flock of beautiful blonde girls playing a game of kickball with so-called fraternity jocks at a park, just minding their business, having a great time." Seeing this made Elliot irate. He sped off to Kmart, buying a water gun which he filled with orange juice. When he arrived back at the park, quote, "I screamed at them with rage as I sprayed them with my super soaker. Rage boiled inside of me as I watched those people who thought they were better than me, enjoying their pleasurable little lives together. The rage was so intense that I couldn't take it." Elliot wrote how he was giddy and ecstatic with hate-fueled excitement as he drove away. He continued to write, "I wished I could spray boiling oil at the foul beasts. They deserve to die horrible, painful deaths just for the crime of enjoying a better life than me."
Hey, Elliot Rodger here. I'm just sitting in my car right now, enjoying the view of the beach. And my view has been ruined by this sight right here. In front of me, sitting right there on that bench, is a young couple, I presume about my age. I was enjoying such a nice view until they came and sat down and started kissing. This is the reason why life isn't fair. Why does that guy get to have such a beautiful girlfriend while I'm all alone? Why? Why can't I experience something like that right there? They're kissing right now. It's torture for me to watch, but I have to do this. I have to film this. I have to show the world why life isn't fair. I have to show everyone why I hate the world, because no girl would do this with me. Look at them. He's in heaven right now, sitting on this beautiful beach with his beautiful girlfriend, kissing her, feeling her love. Well, I'm sitting here all alone. Because no beautiful girl wants to be my girlfriend. I hate them. I hate them so much. Why does he deserve to get that experience and not me? I can only imagine the heavenly things they'll be doing together when they go back home tonight. I'm sure they'll be having sex. What will I be doing? Lying in my bed alone, with no one, because no one wants me. I bet he goes to the same college as me. Yet he gets to experience his college life with his beautiful blonde girlfriend. And I have to suffer this miserable loneliness. It's not fair. Life is not fair.
Elliot began playing the lottery, and when the Mega Millions 120 million jackpot winning lottery numbers were announced on September 11th, 2012, he fell to the floor and threw a wild tantrum. He screamed and cried for hours and wrote that he knew the day of retribution was very possible now. On July 20th, 2013, Elliot wrote about trying to shove girls at a party over a ledge, but instead, he fell off the ledge. A few guys ran up to him and shoved him back down to the ground. Elliot heard his ankle make a popping noise and felt a sharp pain. He got to his feet, trying to leave as fast as he could, but he realized he had forgotten his Gucci sunglasses. Elliot decided to go back and get them. The same guys that pushed him down started to taunt him and called him names. Afterwards, they dragged him outside to the driveway where they beat him up. That night, a neighbor witnessed Elliot arriving home. He was noticeably upset, crying, spouting off about killing the young men who jumped him. And after he killed them, he said he would take his own life. Elliot reported to the police that he was assaulted, but the investigators concluded that he could have been the person who started the conflict in the first place, being the initial aggressor. Like I mentioned up top, there is much more about these incidents in the manifesto Elliot wrote about his life and in his journals, which I am only going to release on Patreon publicly in case people didn't want to have that on their podcast feeds. It's on patreon.com/ReverieTrueCrime. In the manifesto, Elliot said that occurrence with the party and the police was the final straw for him. He began plotting to carry out some kind of attack since 2012, as we will later find out when we get into his computer search history. At first, in 2013, he wanted to carry out a killing on Halloween, but he figured there would be way too many police wandering around and they could interrupt his attack. On January 15th, 2014, Chin Hong, Elliot's roommate, had stolen some of his candles, which made Elliot extremely angry. He filed a police report and Chin pleaded guilty to the charge of petty theft. Chin would unfortunately become one of Elliot's future victims. The next month, he started to go to gun ranges, and in March, he bought 2 separate ammunition purchases. On April 24th, 2014, Elliot would have possibly committed a murder spree, but he changed his mind when he woke up sick with a cold. That same month, he also went to 2 gun ranges. This is indicative of being in a stage of ramping up during the planning process and rehearsing. April 30th, 2014, Elliot's parents, Chen and Peter, got in touch with the police because Elliot's behavior was getting out of control, to the point that he wasn't trying to hide his anger anymore. They told the police about his YouTube videos that highly disturbed them and explained to them that Elliot was talking about suicide and killing people, though the police never bothered to watch the videos until it was too late. Unbeknownst to his parents, their son already had a strategy in place, and he had bought firearms. Elliot wrote in his manifesto that when the police came to his apartment to talk to him, if they would have searched the place, they would have found the guns if they went to his bedroom. Bill Brown, the Santa Barbara County Sheriff at the time, said deputies decided they had no reason to enforce an involuntary hold, and Elliot told them it had all been a misunderstanding. Also, Elliot was seen as this so-called privileged son of Hollywood. He was attending premieres of movies, strutting down the red carpet. He wore Neiman Marcus sweaters, Armani clothes, and Gucci sunglasses, and drove a BMW. However, what was written in his manifesto and said in his YouTube videos showed a much darker, hateful, entitled, jealous, misogynistic side.
I'm sitting in my car, making another entry in my collection of vlogs. Today I want to talk about the kind of men that girls are attracted to. You see, ever since I hit puberty, I've wanted girls, I've desired girls, I've been sexually attracted to girls, but they've never shown any attraction back to me. And during that time, I've tried to question why. Why aren't they attracted to me? Even though during the last 2 years I've tried really hard to appear as attractive as possible and to be as attractive as possible. And I've often made theories of the kind of guys that girls really are attracted to. After going to college for 2.5 years and seeing all of the horrific sights I've seen there, mainly all of the young couples walking about, the guys who actually have the hot girls, I've concluded that females have a very flawed and perverted form of sexual attraction. Like, every time I drive around the area of my college, or just walking through my college, I see that all of the beautiful girls go for the big, obnoxious, boisterous, beefy jock types. It's the same in high school, though I never, thankfully, got to experience the brutality of high school because I was homeschooled for 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. Though I did get a small taste of that, and that traumatized me for life. Anyways, yeah, they go for things like brute strength and, tough alpha male behavior. And that's just so wrong, because this isn't the Stone Age anymore. Girls should be going for intelligence, sophistication, men who are civilized, men like me.
A forensic psychiatrist did read a lot of Elliot's manuscript of what he claimed was the story of his life and what made him what he became. The psychiatrist said even though he has no connection to the family or Elliot, the manifesto did not have the elements of what you would see in writings that are written by people with psychosis. His main reason for his plan of attack on college students, mainly young women, was because he was envious of the young men who were sexually active. Elliot was so pissed off at women for not giving him the time of day. He was offended and outraged that he was 22 years old and still a virgin. He even posted online a lot that he was an incel. These days, the word incel carries a very negative and often violent connotation. In his manifesto, he wrote of desiring young blondes. He would buy the nicest, most expensive clothes, attempting to impress them. Elliot even tried hard to win the lottery and become a millionaire. He made drive after drive to Arizona, buying hundreds of dollars worth of Powerball tickets, saying it was the only way to avoid the day of retribution, writing, "Indeed, it was the only way I could attain any sort of wealth at my age. I had no talents, so it was impossible for me to become a professional actor, musician, or athlete, and those were usually the ways that young people acquired such money. I could invent something or start a business just like Mark Zuckerberg did with Facebook, but the chances of me achieving such a thing were the same chances I had of winning the lottery anyway. I will be able to fully indulge in everything I'm passionate about: exotic cars, luxurious mansions, expensive clothes, and of course, sex with beautiful girls. They will finally see me as the supreme man that I am meant to be." Before his plan came to fruition, there were other red flags. There was a website called bodybuilding.com where men would express their misogyny and hatred. One of his posts said, "If you could release a virus that would kill every single man on Earth except for yourself because you would have the antidote, would you do it? You will be the only man left, with all the females. You would be able to have your pick of any beautiful woman you want, as well as having dealt vengeance on the men who took them from you. Imagine how satisfying that would be." One person on the website said that Elliot took down a video he had posted titled, "Why Do Girls Hate Me So Much?" This person said Elliot's video really depicted him to be a possible serial killer. He said, quote, "I'm not trying to be mean, but the creepy vibe that you give off in those videos is likely the major reason that you can't get girls." In response to that, Elliot wrote, "My parents discovered the videos, so I temporarily took them down. They will be back up in a few days, along with more videos I have filmed."
Elliot Rodger here. I'm up in the hills in Montecito right now. It's truly a beautiful day. But, as I've always said, a beautiful environment is the darkest hell if you have to experience it all alone. And sadly, I've been alone for a very long time. I've been attending college in Santa Barbara for about 2.5 years now. And in those 2.5 years, I've experienced nothing but loneliness and misery. And my problem is girls. There are so many beautiful girls here, but none of them give me a chance, and I don't know why. I don't know why you girls are so repulsed by me. It doesn't make sense. I do everything I can to appear attractive to you. I dress nice. I'm sophisticated. I'm magnificent. I have a nice car, a BMW. Well, it's nicer than 90% of the people in my college. You know, I'm polite. I'm the ultimate gentleman. And yet, you girls, you never give me a chance. I don't know why. You know, I put a lot of effort into dressing nice. These sunglasses here were $300. Giorgio Armani. So I'll put them on. See? Hold on. Car. See? Look at how fabulous I look. You know, I feel so invisible as I walk through my college because none of the girls there pay attention to me. I see so many beautiful blonde-haired, just so many beautiful blonde-haired girls walking around everywhere. In your revealing shorts, your cascading blonde hair, your pretty faces. And I want one for a girlfriend. I want to take a girl out on a date and prove to her that I'm worthy. I want to feel that sense of being worthy of a girl's love and affection. I'm 22 years old and I've never had a girlfriend. I'm still a virgin. I've never had the pleasure of having sex with a girl, sleeping with a girl, kissing a girl. I've never even held a girl's hand. Hell, I don't even have a young girl's phone number in my cell phone. And that's just such an injustice because I'm so magnificent. I deserve girls much more than all those slobs I see at my college who are somehow able to walk around with beautiful girls. I mean, even in the college town that I stay in during my semesters, as I walk around like the common areas of those towns or the areas where all the college parties happen, I see these obnoxious guys walking with beautiful girls. And that pisses me off because I should be the one with the girls. I mean, look at me. I'm gorgeous. But you girls don't see it. I don't understand why you're so repulsed by me. Why won't you give me a chance? It's ridiculous. I mean, the other day, I was doing some grocery shopping at Trader Joe's. And I was, of course, all alone, as I always am. Which makes me feel so miserable. Anyway, I was doing my shopping and I see this like disgusting looking loser. Well, he's a loser in my opinion. And he walks in with these two beautiful blonde girls at his side. I couldn't believe my eyes. I was so insulted by that because I should be the one with the girls. But you never give me a chance. If you just give me a chance and get to know me, you'll see that I am worthy of you. Because I am. Unbelievable. I mean, this world is so beautiful, but it's so sad and depressing when I have to experience it all alone. And I have to watch other guys able to walk around and enjoy their lives with beautiful girlfriends at their side. And I can only imagine how amazing their sex lives must be. I've never had any sex or anything like that. It's such an injustice. I don't know why you girls hate me so much. I've always wished I could ask you this, and this is my way of asking you this. This is the only way I can ask you.
On May 20th, 2014, Elliot uploaded a video that was barely 1 minute long. He was driving, wearing sunglasses and a collared shirt as he listened to George Michael's song, Father Figure. Elliot never said a word, but in the description of the video he wrote, "I'm awesome. Yeah, you better believe it. Fuck you haters." So, after many videos, a 140-page manifesto, and 2 journals, Elliot filmed one last video less than 24 hours before the horrendous tragedy occurred.
Elliot Rodger here. Well, this is my last video. It all has to come to this. Tomorrow is the day of retribution. The day in which I will have my revenge against humanity, against all of you. For the last 8 years of my life, ever since I've hit puberty, I've been forced to endure an existence of loneliness, rejection, and unfulfilled desires, all because girls have never been attracted to me. Girls gave their affection and sex and love to other men, but never to me. I'm 22 years old and I'm still a virgin. I've never even kissed a girl. I've been through college for 2.5 years, more than that actually, and I'm still a virgin. And it's been very torturous. College is the time when everyone experiences those things such as sex and fun and pleasure. But in those years I've had to rot in loneliness. It's not fair. You girls have never been attracted to me. I don't know why you girls aren't attracted to me, but I will punish you all for it. It's an injustice, a crime, because I don't know what you don't see in me. I'm the perfect guy. And yet you throw yourselves at all these obnoxious men, instead of me, the supreme gentleman. I will punish all of you for it. On the day of retribution, I am going to enter the hottest sorority house of UCSB. And I will slaughter every single spoiled, stuck-up, blonde slut I see inside there. All those girls that I've desired so much, they would have all rejected me and looked down upon me as an inferior man if I ever made a sexual advance towards them. While they throw themselves at these obnoxious brutes. I'll take great pleasure in slaughtering all of you. You will finally see that I am, in truth, the superior one, the true alpha male. Yes. After I've annihilated every single girl in the sorority house, I'll take to the streets of Isla Vista and slay every single person I see there. All those popular kids who live such lives of hedonistic pleasure while I've had to rot in loneliness for all these years. They've all looked down upon me every time I tried to go out and join them. They've all treated me like a mouse. Well, now, I will be a god compared to you. You will all be animals. You are animals, and I will slaughter you like animals. I'll be a god, exacting my retribution on all those who deserve it. And you do deserve it, just for the crime of living a better life than me. All you popular kids, you've never accepted me. And now you'll all pay for it. And girls, all I've ever wanted was to love you and to be loved by you. I've wanted a girlfriend. I've wanted sex. I've wanted love, affection, adoration. But you think I'm unworthy of it. That's a crime that can never be forgiven. If I can't have you, girls, I will destroy you. You denied me a happy life, and in turn, I will deny all of you life. It's only fair. I hate all of you. Humanity is a disgusting, wretched, depraved species. If I had it in my power, I would stop at nothing to reduce every single one of you to mountains of skulls and rivers of blood. And rightfully so. You deserve to be annihilated. And I'll give that to you. You never showed me any mercy, and so I will show you none. You forced me to suffer all my life, and now I'll make you all suffer. I've waited a long time for this. I'll give you exactly what you deserve, all of you. All you girls who rejected me and looked down upon me and, treated me like scum while you gave yourselves to other men. And all of you men for living a better life than me. All of you sexually active men. I hate you. I hate all of you. And I can't wait to give you exactly what you deserve. Utter annihilation.
On May 23rd, 2014, it was going to be a fun Friday night kicking off Memorial Day weekend in Isla Vista for most college kids. They were out partying and enjoying life. This night would turn into a full-blown rampage killing spree. Around 6 in the afternoon, Elliot ambushed his 2 roommates, Wei-Han David Wang and Chen James Hong, separately while they were coming into the apartment. He brutally stabbed Wei-Han 15 times and Chen 19. They were left in their bedrooms. It was obvious that Chen desperately tried to fight off Elliot as he had wounds from the knife on his hands and arms. George Chen, a friend of Wei-Han and Chen, came to the apartment to pick the 2 roommates up, and he was viciously stabbed 94 times. Elliot put his body in the bathroom. Elliot had been practicing his stabbing and slashing movements, trying to prepare himself before his roommates arrived. His pillow and bed sheets were found completely sliced up and stabbed through. The knives he used in the killings were 2 long, fixed-blade knives. One was almost 9 inches long and used for hunting boars. The apartment would be only one of 12 crime scenes. Around 7:38 p.m., Elliot had changed out of his blood-stained clothes and went to Starbucks in Isla Vista to get himself a vanilla latte. Around 9:18 that night, he sent off his manuscript in an email to his parents, his professors, acquaintances, and medical and mental health providers who had tried to help him in the past. Shortly after that, he uploaded the retribution video to YouTube. Elliot walked out of the apartment, got into his BMW, and took a short drive to UCSB Alpha Phi sorority. When he arrived, he strolled up to the door and began continuously banging on it. The door was locked, and no one answered. His attempts at getting inside were unsuccessful. Elliot got back into his car and began to drive down a street where he saw 3 young women walking down the sidewalk. Pulling out one of 3 semi-automatic pistols that he had with him, he began shooting them. 2 of the young women died, and 1 was extremely injured. 911 was initially called at 9:27 p.m., and police jetted off to the crime scene as Elliot cruised around the neighborhood, changing the magazine clip of his gun. He unloaded 50 rounds of ammo out of his car window, killing 1 young man who was running with other people to a deli store. Then he sped off, severely wounding 7 other people by running them over with his vehicle. Elliot used his car to slam into someone riding a bicycle and someone on a skateboard. The impact was so intense that the windshield of his car shattered, and the person on the bicycle, their legs had been crushed. Police fired away at Elliot, shooting him 3 times. He began shooting back at the police, eventually crashing into a few parked cars, coming to a halt. Officers ran to remove Elliot from the car and apprehended him. They realized he was not alive. He had taken one of the guns and ended his life by shooting himself in the head shortly after police started shooting at him, causing him to crash into the car. This rampage, from the time he left his apartment until the very end, only took 8 minutes to go to one location to another, leaving a trail of blood and lifeless and severely wounded people behind him. When his car was searched, authorities found 3 semi-automatic handguns with 400 unspent rounds. Every one of those guns were bought legally and registered in his name. He bought them from retailers who sold federally licensed firearms in 3 different places: Goleta, Oxnard, and Burbank. The Santa Barbara County Sheriff, Bill Brown, said, quote, "In addition to the weapons, the suspect had 34 loaded 10-round magazines for the 6 Sauer pistols and 7 10-round magazines for the Glock pistol." Elliot's mother saw his threats on his new YouTube video, and the psychiatrist called about the manifesto, asking, "Have you gotten Elliot's email?" Lee Chin went straight to her email to read it. She was in a panic, calling her ex-husband Peter, who was out having dinner. Elliot's mother immediately called the police. Then she and Peter raced over to Elliot's to talk to him and try to stop him. Alas, they were already too late. As they were on the road, they were listening to the radio, and suddenly, the news about the shooting was announced while they were on the freeway. 3 hours later, officials were busy raiding Elliot's apartment. On his bed was his laptop, opened, and showing a confirmation that his video had been uploaded. Beside the manifesto he had written, there were also 2 journals. The last entry he wrote was on the day of the shooting. Quote, "I had to tear some pages out because I feared my intentions would be discovered. I taped them back together as fast as I could. This is it. In 1 hour, I will have my revenge on this cruel world. I hate you all. Die." Elliot's family were completely against guns and offered their condolences to the victims' families through authorities, saying, quote, The Rodger family offers their deepest compassion and sympathy to the families involved in this terrible tragedy. We are experiencing the most inconceivable pain, and our hearts go out to everybody involved. That following Sunday, the 25th, investigators, along with the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, went to the Rodgers' home to search for evidence, and they ended up exiting their house carrying a lot of boxes. There are 13 survivors who were injured by Elliot's car, plus the ones who were wounded by gunshots. One person had a minor wound from a stray bullet. Of those 13, there were 2 who were in critical condition. The authorities did a search of Elliot's computer and found the following searches. October 2nd, 2012. If you were Adolf Hitler. October 4th, 2012. Modern torture devices. Heinrich Himmler. Reincarnation of Hitler. October 5th, 2012. Young people are all mean. Joseph Goebbels. October 6th, 2012. Are there any knives so sharp that if you touch it, you bleed? Stabbing incident. October 9th, 2012. Did Adolf Hitler have a girlfriend? I've never had a female friend. Nazi anime. In December of 2012, he also began buying weapons. On May 14th, he searched Xi'an Railway Station terrorist knife attack, explosion bombing, Guangzhou train station knife attack. May 23rd, quick silent kill with a knife, how to kill someone with a knife. A librarian came forward to investigators and admitted she helped him find books on serial killers and mass murders 2 or 3 months prior to his rampage. However, that's definitely not a telltale sign that someone is a violent person, and millions of people consume true crime content. On the night of the shooting, 23-year-old Alexander Matera was with a bunch of friends, sitting by a bonfire, when at least one bullet flew over their heads. They all took off, fleeing for cover when they heard the ongoing gunshots, first thinking maybe the sound was firecrackers. Alexander said his friend Chris Johnson was simply stepping out of a comedy improv club after watching stand-up comedians, and as soon as he was walking by a pizza place, he was shot. Chris staggered inside of a house close by as he bled badly. The Santa Maria Times reported that Kylie Scarlett, a UCSB senior and a former sorority president, said when the car finally crashed, she heard it from the inside of the house she was in. 2 of the women from the Delta 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 sorority next door were shot and killed on the Alpha Phi lawn, with a 3rd sorority member injured there as well. Kylie saw the videos of Elliot posted after the fact and said, quote, "It's hard thinking my actions, being part of a sorority, led him to do this. When I saw that video, I was shaking and crying." 19-year-old Kyle Sullivan attended Santa Barbara City College, and he saw 3 young women sprawled out on the lawn of the Alpha Phi sorority. He recalled only one of them appearing somewhat conscious as she was on her cell phone with her mother, and she was understandably upset, in a frenzy, telling her mother she wasn't sure if she was going to survive. The 3 young women were Catherine Cooper, Veronica Weiss, and Bianca DeCock. Bianca was the only one who survived of the 3. Elliot Rodger's family was not ready to speak publicly at the time, but their lawyer stated, quote, My client's mission in life will be to try to prevent any such tragedy from ever happening again. This country, this world, needs to address mental illness and ramifications from not recognizing these illnesses. Christopher Michaels Martinez was 20 years old, and his father Richard said, quote, "When will this insanity stop? Too many have died. We should say to ourselves, not one more." Richard said politicians and gun rights supporters were a huge part of the problem. On May 24th, students holding hands and completely brokenhearted held a candlelight vigil for the deceased victims to honor them at the University of California, Santa Barbara campus. Executive Director of the Virginia-based Treatment Advocacy Center, Doris Fuller, stated that California law has provisions that allow emergency psychiatric evaluations of people who are a serious threat to others, but that was never triggered, and Elliot's family said he was in therapy. Doris said, quote, "Once again, we are grieving over deaths and devastation caused by a young man who was sending up red flags for danger that failed to produce intervention in time to avert tragedy. In this case, the red flags were so big, the killer's parents had called the police. Yet, the system failed." 22-year-old Yvette Johnson said, quote, "The insecurities and rejection he felt is something I believe exists in a lot of hearts in this city. There's this unspoken survival of the fittest. If you don't fit in a box, you're going to feel rejected." 24-year-old Christina Perez stated, quote, "Some people think that he doesn't deserve love, but we all deserve love." That weekend, Jose Cardoso, a man who did a lot of printing work for sororities and fraternities, got down on his hands and knees in front of the flowers laid in front of the Alpha Phi sorority house, praying. He considers the students as his children. I want to go more in detail about the young lives that were stolen that night. 20-year-old Chen Hong of San Jose, originally from Taipei, was one of Elliot's roommates. He was said to be a kind soul who was always nice to people at school and the computer programmers he had classes with. One student who worked with Chen at a 24-hour programming marathon said, quote, "He was just a really smart guy. He gave us tips and we just kind of talked." Another student said, "He was the kindest kid, so generous, so giving, always willing to help people out." 19-year-old George Chen of San Jose was usually hanging out with his buddies Wei-Han and Chen, but when he wasn't, you could find him giving back to the community, volunteering with a Buddhist-based organization, Tu Chi. George was also very helpful to the elders in the community. He would get their mail for them and take out their trash. He was always wanting to help others. His mother, Kelly Wang, said, quote, "He was always very sweet and helpful. He had always been a very smart kid." At George's vigil, his mother talked about how his helpful and kind nature started very young. In high school, George would make sure to arrive at school about an hour early to tutor fellow schoolmates, and one summer he volunteered at a computer camp for children. A woman from the computer camp said of George, "He was so warm-hearted and so gentle." 20-year-old Wei-Han Wang of Fremont, who had just told his parents that he and Chen did not get along with their roommate Elliot and wanted to move out by the next year. Wei-Han studied computer programming at UCSB and he couldn't wait for summer so he could go home to the Bay Area and spend quality time with his family. He planned to visit Yellowstone National Park and would have turned 21 that July. His mother, Jane, said, quote, "What can I do without my son? My son, my whole life. I'm so proud of him. He was her only child." 19-year-old Veronica Weiss played 4 sports in high school and was a UC Santa Barbara freshman at the time. She was described as someone who always reached out to others who were known to be quote-unquote outsiders, or the ones you could tell seemed lonely or alone. Her mother said, quote, "It's ironic. She hung out with a lot of the scholarly students at school. Some of the boys, they gravitated to her, not as boyfriend-girlfriend so much. If they were a nerdy kid who felt out of place, Veronica would welcome them." Her parents, Bob and Colleen, lived in Thousand Oaks. They went and sat in front of a pizza place around 4 a.m. after the shooting. Veronica had not made it back to her room yet. They sat in shock and worry. Their daughter wasn't the kind of person who stayed out very late, and she stayed in contact with her parents. She would have called them, if she was able to, about the shooting, but they didn't hear a peep from her after the news broke of the massacre. At the time, authorities could not release information as to whether Veronica was a victim or not. Bob and Colleen looked at Veronica's Find My Phone app on their iPhone and saw the map that came up, showing them where her phone was. They instantly drove to the location, and the house that she stayed in was blocked off with crime scene tape. The two only sat in silence, in shock, and disbelief. Unable to cry, unable to scream, just frozen and numb. 22-year-old Catherine Katie Brianne Cooper was shot close to her sorority sister Veronica. Katie lived in Chino Hills and studied archaeology and art history. She was so close to graduating with a degree in art history at UCSB. A friend, Courtney Benjamin, said, quote, "She was a self-proclaimed princess, and I love her for that. And I know she has a crown on her head today." Katie took ballroom dance lessons 3 years prior, and she went on to be a teaching assistant in ballroom dance. She was described as being so much fun and very forward. Katie's Aunt Stacy Simmer said her niece was a shining star and the apple of all of their eyes. Katie helped with charity fundraising for St. Jude's Children's Hospital and had a 4.8 GPA. She was survived by her parents, Katie and Dan, and her 2 brothers, Nick and John. 20-year-old Christopher Michaels Martinez had desired and planned to go study somewhere overseas, possibly London. He was an English major and wanted to go to law school after graduation. The previous year, Christopher was a residential advisor at a dorm, and he was the kind of person who would welcome people he didn't even know into his home. The young adults who were injured during the shooting spree were Megan Carlotto, 22, she was shot on her bicycle, Keith Chung, 21, who was struck on his bicycle by Elliot's car, Bianca DeCock, 20, she was shot near a sorority house, Patrick Eggert, 19, struck on a bicycle by Elliot's car, Elliot G., struck on a skateboard by Elliot's car, Chris Johnson shot in front of a pizza restaurant, Nick Pasachuk, 19, struck on a skateboard by Elliot's car, and 6 unidentified others. On May 28th, the University of California, Santa Barbara's doors were open, and the students were back to their classes. Some were needing to get back to their friends and their routines, while others were not ready yet. 23-year-old Kelly Frances Del Nessa was one student who needed to get back together with her friends and wanted to see what her professors had to say about everything that happened. She also said that sometimes, as she walks down the street, she just feels like hugging people. Reporters gathered around the campus, and a lot of students screamed and cursed at them, wanting them to go away. Others would be polite when they declined to talk to the media as they were trying to get to their classes. In a statement through their friend Simon Astaire, Elliot's parents said, quote, "We are crying out in pain for the victims and their families. It breaks our hearts on a level that we didn't think was possible. The feeling of knowing that it was our son's actions that caused this tragedy can only be described as hell on earth. It is now our responsibility to do everything we can to help avoid this happening to any other family. Not only to avoid any more innocents destroyed, but also to identify and deal with the mental issues that drove our son to do what he did." The one good result that came out of this occurrence in Isla Vista was lawmakers made a change. In September of 2014, California lawmakers made the first law in America that allowed family members, roommates, and law enforcement to request a judge to take away firearms from any relative who appears to pose a threat to themselves or others. They also boosted firearm safety and added rules for sales of ammunition. That's going to wrap up this episode of the Isla Vista killings. Thank you for listening to today's episode. The next episode is going to be a hard one, personally for me as a woman, but things that are hard to talk about are typically the topics we need to be speaking on. And there's a discussion that needs to be had here. I really wanted to have this open and raw conversation with a male, so a male podcaster will be joining me for the next episode. There are a lot of incel forums and dark places on the internet that I discovered, and I think when we read these things out loud, it's going to be shocking. It was very shocking for me when I saw that so many men, thousands, maybe more, want us as women to simply die because they don't know how to form relationships, and it's everyone else's fault but their own. Plus, the entitlement, how they think we as women owe them something, and if they don't get it, we should all essentially die. That is absolutely insane to me. So, I'd like to get a man's take on incel behaviors and personalities, go through some case studies that I found, analyze this issue, and possibly make men in general more aware of what women are facing every day that they don't realize. Even men who support women fully cannot understand what it's like to be in our shoes, or what it would be like to side-eye almost every man you come across, because we don't know if they're going to try to hurt us or worse. I expect it to be very interesting and honestly a very heartbreaking, scary reality that we have to face. So until next time, everyone please stay safe and take care.